Hello everyone and welcome back to Nonstop Nikhil. It's another episode and we're here in Tunisia. In yesterday's episode we went to a nearby town called Al. However, I didn't exactly tell you how I got there and any of the practicalities regarding transport in Tunisia. I mostly didn't vlog how I got to Al because I was completely figuring everything out myself. It took me a little while to get the hang of it, but I think I figured out the system now. On today's day trip, when we go from Susa to Monastir, I think I'm going to try to vlog exactly how I get there, so I can try to show you, if you don't know Arabic and French, at least you can get a framework of the system for intercity travel here in Tunisia. Taking advantage of the public transportation here is definitely useful. I know I saw the day trip from Susa to Al being advertised for about 100 euros at the hotel, whereas I was able to do it for just about like $10. Transportation came out to about $5, and then I spent maybe $10 for food and water here and there. So I was able to get it done pretty cheaply. The public transportation was fast and it was widely available. All it requires from you as a traveler is to know how to connect the dots between the different steps from getting to the station, which station to get to, how to get your ticket, how to find your actual vehicle, and then some of the customs which take place within the vehicle before you can get off at your destination. Intercity travel here in Tunisia requires you to be able to distinguish between different types of taxis, and I'm going to go through exactly what they look like and how you could use them. The first type of taxi is going to be your standard taxi. It's a private taxi. You get in, there's a meter. Always insist on running by the meter. You can say bi'addad or bicompteur. And that will just take you from point A to point B. It's just for you, acts like a taxi anywhere else. Those are pretty much going to be yellow sedans. The next two types of taxis are actually minivans. They're known here as louage, and you'll see that written out in French. It's a French word, as well as in Arabic, just as louage. And you typically have to go to Mahatat al-Louajet, which is a louage station. And there are two types of louage. One here in Susa is a white one, and that's reserved for intercity travel. So for that, you'll have to go to Al-Mahatta Al-Kabira, or the Grand Station. And there you can find all the intercity minibuses from cities all around Tunisia. The second type of louage is a louage which runs only across small areas within the city. It looks just like a minivan version of the yellow sedan taxis. These taxis charge flat fare of about 750 millim. So that is just about maybe 20-25 cents. These intracity minivans tend to run on established routes, and it all just comes down to you asking the driver whether your stop is on the route which that minivan is traveling on. If that minivan is going in your direction, you hop on, you take a seat, you just signal to the driver when you're ready to get off. So with all that background information in mind, let's get started with our trip today. We're going to just take a quick jump from Susa to Monastir. It's not that far away. Should maybe take less than an hour, maybe 30 minutes to get there. And at the same time, I'll try to walk you through exactly how I get my tickets, get on the minibus, and get going. So behind me, you see a station right outside of the walls of the old city for the Louajet, which travel just within the Sousse metro area. On the top of the vehicles, you see that there's a board which establishes exactly where those vehicles are going. Almost all of them say Susa as one of the destinations, and then where exactly the other destination will be. All these minivans travel to places fairly close to Susa and within the city itself. You can be one of the 7 passengers on these minivans for a price of just 750 millim, which is about 20-25 cents. So I asked one of the minibus drivers over there what the best way would be to get to Monastir. He said that I don't actually... Yeah, أنا من هنا. So the minibus driver back there actually told me that I don't have to go to the main Louajet station, and that there should be a station just up here which will take me to Monastir. I think it might be because Monastir is quite close to Susa that it leaves from this direction, whereas all the other minivans to the big cities even further away, and even to Libya actually, we're leaving from the larger Louajet station on the other side of the city. So it looks like I found the station here. Again, it's just the yellow minibuses since we're not going too far today. So one minivan leaving to Monastir just left. It was full of 7 people. I'm gonna wait for the next one. Hopefully I'll be the first one in and can choose my seat. Hopefully also won't have to wait too long before it gets full. I guess the station with the Louajet leaving from Monastir was just right in front of the hotel, so we didn't have to go all the way to the main station. And I'm also the first one in the minibus, so I get to take the front seat, Get the most legroom, but we just have to wait until it's full with 7 people, so we'll see how that goes. It's a weekend, so I'm not too worried. Just arrived in Monastir. It's about a 30-45 minute ride in the minivan, and it costs 2 dinar. That's about 60 cents for that ride. The minivan or luage dropped me off right outside the old city wall, so we're walking along the wall. I'm just looking for exactly where all the sites are, and hopefully a restaurant right there. It's about 1:30 right now, and I'm getting hungry, so take a look at what's there. I mean, if there is seafood couscous again, I would definitely not mind having that. Not sure if you can tell just how windy it is. The mic might be picking up some of that wind, but I'm hoping that you can hear me clearly. We're definitely right by the sea, but we've been by the sea this whole time in Tunisia. Today is just really a windy day. I opened up the weather app this morning, and the weather forecast was just wind, but it's a nice 70 degrees, so it's still comfortable. I was just walking by this park. There was a banner for a pétanque festival, which I quite honestly did not even know what that meant. So I had to Google it, but looks like it's a sport that's very similar to bocce ball. Habib Bourguiba played a multi-dimensional role in developing Tunisia's national identity and society. For example, he advocated for a strong development of its education system, its economic system, as well as the maintenance of its neutral status on the world stage. Furthermore, Habib Bourguiba was extremely impactful in implementing the Code of Personal Status. This Code of Personal Status was a law which advocated and progressively elected to secure equality between men and women in the legal sphere. From a social point of view, Bourguiba's policies allowed for the abolition of polygamy, as well as requiring consent for marriage from both parties. Tunisia successfully fought and procured its independence in March of 1956. That's fairly recently if you think about it. And Habib Bourguiba only died in the year 2000. That's so recent. We often think that many nations on the African continent are so behind, and we wonder why that is. If you think about it, so many of them only secured their independence from their colonizing powers in the 60s or 70s. There's just no coming back after you've been siphoned of your resources for that long, and the institutions have not been made to help you succeed. Rather, all the government institutions were built to help the colonizing power succeed. At the moment, I'm walking around the plaza right in front of the mosque of Habib Bourguiba. So after learning a bit more about the nationalist leader, let's go check out the mosque. So I'm actually unsure of why this mosque is named after Habib Bourguiba. Either he constructed it, commissioned it, or it's just named after him in his honor. I found a restaurant called La Cuisine, which is just kitchen in the local dialect, of course taken from cuisine in French. You know it's going to be good food when you just sit down and they don't even give you a menu. Just ask if you're going to have the couscous, and you say yes, and you're brought a plate of couscous. So I've maybe had about 4 or 5 different couscous in the past couple of days. I'm going to say each one is so different. The one that I had yesterday in Kairouan almost had a lot of garam masalas in it, a lot of cinnamon, clove, that sort of flavor. And this one has none of that flavor, but it's a lot spicier. So I've maybe had about 4 or 5 different couscous in the past couple of days. I'm going to say each one is so different. The one that I had yesterday in Kairouan almost had a lot of garam masalas in it, a lot of cinnamon, clove, that sort of flavor. And this one has none of that flavor, but it's a lot spicier. It's getting really windy. I just finished up lunch. These palm trees are blowing everywhere, and dust and sand is in the air, and it's not really fun right now. There's stuff getting in my eye. I hope it doesn't stay like this. Right now, we're in front of one of the main squares, and in front of us is the Ribat. In essence, the Ribat was a guard post tower from which early Arab conquerors and their armies could lay watch of any enemies and survey their surroundings. It makes sense why we see these ribats on the coasts. For example, in Tunis city, in Sousa city, and here in Monastir, we're seeing ribats. Whereas inland, when we went to Kairouan yesterday, it was more of the palaces and mosques, more ornate items. Obviously on the coast is where you're mostly going to station your military personnel, where you want your fortifications. You want to have that big, strong, defensive architecture. You you want to make sure to preserve your more ornate architecture for the inland cities. Right now, I'm on the other side of the Ribat on the coast. You can totally imagine how militaries might be stationed here on top of this grand building, watching the sea to ensure that invaders or other enemies weren't approaching, trying to safeguard their difficultly won territories from enemies, both foreign and indigenous, who might be approaching from these seas. Inside of the Ribat, you get a sense of how, for the Murabitun, or those frontline sentries who are sent to the African coast, how this was a multi-use space for them. It served both personal, religious, and military functions, with separate spaces for both women and men. There were rooms for residences. There were large watchtowers on each corner for the frontline sentries. And there is also a mosque right outside as part of this complex. So it looks like you can actually climb to the top of the watchtower and be a murabit. I'm gonna try to see if I can get up there. Okay, I'll see you guys up there. Yes. But it actually was not a bad walk up here. Not as many flights upstairs as it looks like. Boy, is it windy up here. It is so windy, I've got to make sure my microphone doesn't fly off. But this is incredible. You can definitely get a sense of what it would feel like if you were up a bit guarding the lands that you just conquered. You see everything from up here. You've got sea, so blue, and then right behind me you've got all of Monastir. I think from this angle you get a good sense of why this is such a popular destination for Europeans, Monastir especially. And Monastir has an international airport not too far away from here. And right along the coast in the summertime, I'm sure the resorts are full of vacationers. For the moment, it is really windy, so I think I'm going to start heading down, and then I'll see you guys back in the Ribat. Okay, now all of a sudden this does not seem as bad down here as it was up there. So one thing I've picked up in Tunisian Arabic is the phrase Aishak. I've picked it up, but I haven't been putting it to use. I've been saying shukran for thank you instead, but I've noticed a lot of people will say Aishak as a response, which sounds really nice. I love when someone says Aishak to me. Literally, Aishak would translate into like something like long live you. May you be kept alive. All great things, things I definitely hope for myself during this journey. Here you might get a sense of what the living quarters were like. Now imagine if you were in the military of the earliest Arab Islamic army. You are from either Egypt, Syria, Iraq, or even the Arab Peninsula, and you're a part of the force of militaries moving westward for the expansion of Islam. And you're deployed out here to Tunisia. You're standing sentry here in Monastir, in this Ribat, and this is basically your world. This is going to be your microcosm. You don't know what's there outside of this Ribat, and you don't know what might be coming at you from the sea on that side. It's incredible to think about that. All you know and all you care about is that this is your jihad. You're participating in the jihad for the expansion towards the west, and there is exceptional barakah, or blessings, to be bestowed on those who lay sentry here in Monastir. So I'm done seeing the fort, but I'm trying to leave, and I don't know whether the fort is actually doing its job well. I think it is, by making it really difficult for somebody who doesn't know its layout to maneuver themselves out of here. I just feel like I'm walking around in circles, to be honest. So yesterday in Kairouan, I was vlogging and I met a Tunisian girl and a couple of her friends and mother. And I told her I was coming to Monastir today, and she told me that Monastir is one of her favorite places, even though she's from Susa. She recommended this cafe to me called Rbat, and its location looks amazing. It's like right in the middle of a little peninsula that juts out into the sea. So what I think I'm gonna go do is go grab a tea or coffee there, chill out for a little bit, and then head back that way. So back on that side of the city, we've got both the Louage station for me to head back to Susa, as well as Bourguiba's mausoleum. On my way back to the Louage station and the Bourguiba mausoleum, I'm stopping by this pier that overlooks the sea. However, it's so windy that it's just blowing sand everywhere. So I'm just gonna get some shots and then get out of here. The light is shining so nicely down on the cemetery down by the sea right behind me. And there's a complex I'm approaching right now It seems gated, but I assume that belongs to Bourguiba. Don't think we can get in. The gate looks shut, but at least I'll give you a look of what this mausoleum complex looks like. With that, I'm hoping you all enjoyed a little look at this seaside town of Monastir. It's a nice sized town. It's so relaxed, it's very chill, not much going on here, but really excellent day trip for a nice slow day from Susa. I would highly recommend it. I hope you also enjoyed learning a little bit.
تصرف فهمني هنا راهو ممنوع.
ممنوع? Okay.
نقطة أمنية.
So there were police guards stationed right outside the mausoleum, and I completely missed them. So they came up to me telling me that I should not, Assalamu alaikum, telling me that I should not be videotaping right there. I'm just walking towards the Luaj station, and then we'll get our Luaj back to Susa. If you all enjoyed this video, enjoyed learning a little bit more about Tunisia's fight for independence and its politics thereafter, as well as a bit about the early Arab history in the seaside town, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we look forward to another day with you. Bye.